Hello, everybody. Suzanne Hacker here, and I want to welcome you to another session of the Welcoming All Virtual Summit on Inclusive Hosting. And I am so excited to have Shelly Rosenburg with us today. I have, been working on getting together with Shelly and seeing her in a Zoom room for a while. She is a busy lady, and she will tell you all about that. But she's going to share with us mindful design, designing for cognitive ease in short-term rentals. And I am sure she's going to explain for you what all that means too. So, Shelly, if you want to take it away, I am so eager to hear what you have to say today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and talking with you all and sharing this information that's so important to me. So, I just wanted to give you a brief background on me, just so you get an idea of where I'm coming from. I've been an interior designer for over 25 years, and just in the last 5 years or so, have been niching into more of the disability community and neurodiversity. So I've been speaking at the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show in Vegas for lots of different companies like Delta Faucet on really sharing what sensory design means and why it's important to everyone to start learning about. I also am an adjunct professor at the Boston Architectural College, which is new to me this last year. It's in the Human Design Studies department, and I teach about inclusive design. I've got a certification in cognitive specialist, which is learning a lot about what neurodiversity is and what cognitive disabilities entail and how to provide services for that population. Also certified living in place. I think I was the first one to do a show house. I did the Kip Space Show House in Dallas and was able to do this incredibly beautiful adaptive room for a child that was in a wheelchair, not mobile or verbal. And it was just an incredible experience. And that's really where this idea caught fire, that people are interested in design for all different abilities. And it just was super inspiring and really got me going. And also, editors are really excited about this topic. So, as you move into this, you'll find that there is an audience for this, and everybody's ready for it. So, this is my favorite myth. I always want to start with this and say to you that you are not normal, and neither am I. Normal is really just a social construct that we created as a society. And I love that idea because that means that we can also take the power back. There's just no two brains alike. I found out that even identical twins can have different neurotypes. So brain types are like fingerprints. Everyone is different. And really, this neurodiversity is so important to biodiversity. It's something that is meant to be, and I think will be a huge benefit to society. So this is a picture of my family. This is my my why. And just the reason that I share this, I have three kids and all of them have various diagnoses that you'll see here. And, if you were to take this picture out onto the street and just ask people, where's the disability in this family? I'm sure everyone would say they look normal. And there's that word again, right? So I know you cannot see the invisible disabilities. In fact, 96% of disabilities are invisible. So, I'll talk to designers and architects in my industry, and they'll say, we've never really worked with anyone disabled. That's really not our clientele. Just because a person doesn't have a wheelchair or a walker or a cane or some limb difference or something that's visible doesn't mean they don't struggle. In fact, I'm pretty sure all of us struggle with something. So I'm sharing this photo with you because I know you cannot see ADHD or who's dyslexic, who has sensory processing disorder or autism. You might be able to see that my son has Down syndrome, but for the most part, just keep in mind that this is kind of a mind shift and that most disabilities are just not visible. And so that's another reason why you really need to look at what neurodivergence is. So this is absolutely a growing demographic. And I'd like you to really understand why it's important that you learn about it and how it can serve your business. So people that are neurodivergent are about 20% of our population. That's a big number. And another interesting fact that I found out is most people think of neurodivergence as autism or Asperger's, which is a term that most people with autism no longer like. So it's usually just called autism spectrum disorder. But autism is only 2% of people that are neurodivergent. So when we're saying neurodivergence, we're talking about a lot more than just autism. But even that 2% is still bigger than pediatric cancer, pediatric AIDS, and pediatric diabetes all combined. So the 2% that's autistic, that's a big number in this population. And then understand that 15% more have other things. Also, neurodivergence can be something that you're born with, but it also can be something that you acquire, whether that means an injury, a brain injury, a stroke, some type of accident, or aging. So here's where you sort of get that aging in place overlap with boomers and the elderly who will be getting some type of neurodivergent effect from aging, like dementia or Alzheimer's. And when we're looking at boomers, I think we're at about 7 million now. By 2030, we'll be at 13 million. And the statistics are saying 1 in 2 will have some type of dementia, Alzheimer's, or some kind of cognitive decline. That's 50%. So again, this is a pretty big demographic. I also know that 1 in 5 people in general are neurodiverse. I found out as an adult that I had ADHD, and it was really enlightening, actually. Helped me understand what my superpowers were and why I struggled with certain things, why I had to work extra hard. It's funny, a lot of adults that I meet that now know they're neurodiverse, we found out because of our children. So once you have your children struggling in school and teachers now are so much more informed, you have them tested, and often as you're filling out these questionnaires, hundreds of questions, you think, this is just like me. No wonder I didn't realize that my child had something. So chances are several of you that are listening have struggled with something or really understand, and that's probably why you're here today. So now that you know what neurodiversity is, I really want to talk about what it's not. Again, I have a lot of people misunderstand that neurodiversity is not just autism. It's also a brain type. It's a way that we process sensory stimulus and the way our brain processes information about the environment around us. It's not some disease that needs to be cured. That's an outdated idea, and people just don't think like that anymore. It's also not a group to pity. Sometimes I think we assume that the disabled are suffering. And really what I have found is a disability is not inherently causing suffering to the person that has the disability. What's hard is that our society was basically designed for the average male. That's who was in charge in the past, and that's who has up until lately built our environments, and that's how we measured, basic measurements for furniture standards and all kinds of things. So I think what the suffering comes from a mismatch in society. So it's really that you're out in the world and you're struggling to match with your surroundings. They're just not supportive for you. And again, that's a cool idea because that can be changed by us. And it's definitely, this group is not a burden to society. I think many people think, oh, it's really sweet, what you do. You're talking about neurodiversity and disability, and what a lovely thing. But that's really not my client. This is not an us versus them kind of idea. We are neurodiverse as a group. So you are not only serving a group that you're renting to, but you're serving your own family, your friends, your loved ones, the teachers in your life. All of these different people in your world are neurodiverse too. And I'd love to share with you the economic impact of serving this population. Because when I speak to interior designers and architects and people in my industry, they often feel that I am trying to share a philanthropy with them, or, this is kind of a feel-good service that you should do on this side. That's just really not the case. This group has money to spend. The US disabled population, and this is more about physically disabled population. We don't have I don't have financial numbers on neurodiverse yet, but the US disabled population has $645 billion after tax dollars to spend discretionary income. That means they are traveling, they are renting, they are out and about, they are remodeling. Their total purchasing power with their friends and their advocates and their family as an extension is up to 8 trillion. That's significant. And I believe that it's a win-win. They need help. They need environments to be more accessible and more sensory sensitive, and we need more clients. So we can absolutely leverage this demographic and really boost that bottom line. So the global disabled population is bigger or about the size of China and the EU combined, which just blows my mind. All right, this is a quote that I love to share because it just made me feel so empowered as an interior designer. Architects and designers have a greater ability to improve public health than medical practitioners. That's a huge statement. It's Dr. Claudia Miller. She's at UT San Antonio. And the reason she said this is because we see doctors a couple of times a year, right? And it's usually because something's already going on with us. But we all know, if you study any kind of science, that the evidence shows that the real power is in preventative medicine. And we are spending, especially after the pandemic, we are spending more than 90% of our time every day inside of buildings. And so if that's the case, if we are mentally and physically impacted by the indoor spaces that we are experiencing, and we're indoor 90+%, then that means that all of us who are in the real estate industry, the rental industry, or building, designing, city planning, we all have this power to make spaces healthier and better for our well-being or not. So I just love that quote, and just kind of that mind shift of embracing the power that you have to make spaces healing for people. And also, there's so much benefit to your business. And I just kind of wanted to share it. It's not selfish at all to be putting your business at the limelight. You know, if this is not working for you, then it's not helping anyone else either. We want you to be in business. We want you to have a completely huge wait list for your properties, right? So understand that there is a reason that we have this quote, the riches are in the niches. What I have found as an interior designer is when I was serving the general population, I had a lot of competition. We were all kind of heading towards that 1 to 2% at the top of the financial food chain, trying to do luxury design. And once I niched down towards disability and then even further down into cognitive issues, I know more, I can charge more, and I find that my demographic, my world, my business group has grown, and I've really taken off. The more narrow I've become. I'm not saying everybody has to get narrow, but I do think that when you communicate that you have thought about these things, you will have a much larger audience than you did before. You're also going to be increasing your value in your property. You really want to think about not having to do so many remodels. If you have a new property or a property that you can invest in, doing it universally or even more specifically accessible from the beginning will really increase your value, increase the interest, and will keep you from having to do costly remodels year after year. And I love the idea of future proofing your rentals. You know, really design them from cradle to grave, and understand now that people are traveling with multi-generations, whether they're traveling with their parents to take them to a specific hospital or a clinic in another city, but they're also bringing their young children with them. You've got multi-generational living and traveling now. And so think about that cradle to grave and how you can serve any age or any stage. And then also, I personally think it's a responsibility to ethically promote diversity, equity, and inclusion, because again, when we serve people that are a little bit different or have higher needs, then we are all supported, because disability is not something that might happen to you, I mean, we're human, right? After all. So disability is something that will happen, hopefully over time and when we're very much older. But, I even look at it as temporary things. I had a plumber once who was putting in a bidet system for me for a hygiene purposes with a client. And he had told me this story that he was a wild snow skier. He loved doing stunts and he pulled a backflip, landed incorrectly, and broke both ankles. So this really young, strong man was in a wheelchair for about a year and had several surgeries. And he really was like, you just never know what's going to happen to you. And he said, I could have used grab bars and a bidet and other things because that personal hygiene piece, can be very embarrassing if you're not autonomous in that way. All right. So if I've caught your interest at all, I kind of wanted to give you some next steps just so you don't feel like this is some big scary thing. There's no certifications you need to get necessarily. There's so much knowledge out there that's easy and free for you. And I would really take it step by step. You don't have to do this all at one time. You can continually starting to add things and even just letting your clients know in literature that we're open to this and we'd love to hear your ideas. Is there something that you needed that maybe we didn't have and we can make sure to have for next time? I think then when your clients feel heard, even if they weren't accommodated the first time, you have a better chance of them wanting to work with you again. So invest in knowledge about this. I have an amazing list if you'd like. I'll give you my email at the end of the presentation. I have a great list of books that you can easily get on Amazon, wonderful websites, all kinds of information out there. I've already put a lot of it together for you. I'm happy to share that. Also, I don't think you have to reinvent the wheel. Build on other people's expertise. If you have a question, you don't have a lot of time to do the research, reach out on LinkedIn, or some of these different business groups and find out what designers like myself are doing. Talk to an occupational therapist or a physical therapist. Sometimes medical teams can really give me great, neat ideas for clients that I'd never thought about. So you don't have to have all the pressure on yourself to learn everything perfectly. Use your peers, your other rental colleagues, and let them help you share all the things that you did. I mean, there's so much work out there for everybody. So feel like you can share and help each other. I also love opening the conversation with your client. Again, clients cannot know that you have really taken the time to think about their lighting or their water quality unless you let them know. So open the conversation with your clients when they're first registering or asking you questions. That's a great time to brag and let them know all of the sensory sensitive things you've put in and that you're open, and ask them, is there anyone traveling with you that has a higher need or that has a sensitivity that we might be able to do something about before you get here? Even if they can't think of anything or don't want to divulge something personal, I think it really goes a long way for them to know that you've thought about this and that you care. And then lastly, to start designing this way, I've kind of come up with a little bit of a system that I think is easy. We all learn about the 5 human senses early in school, and those. So I kind of start with the human senses when I'm thinking, where do I even start to make my property sensory sensitive? How do we begin? So I talk about actually 8 human senses, the basic 5, and then we add 3 more. And I'm just going to go quickly through these. These are just little touchstones. The ideas are limitless. You can probably think of a lot that are not here. And I'd love to hear your ideas if you come up with something. So if we just start with the basic 5 senses, we'll start with smell. This has a lot to do with odors that we want to maybe remove, or fragrances that we're interested in possibly using. So just a quick list of things you can do. Really make sure if you're in a moist environment that you control moisture and mold. You may not be able to detect mold with just your nose, but a lot of people can. And we're talking about neurodiverse. Being neurodiverse typically comes with higher sensitivities. So you already are working a lot harder to sort of be on that level playing field. And also, what typically comes with being neurodiverse is that you're more sensitive to smells or fragrances or light or sound. So, with every sense, you have to look at what we might need to remove to make the setting more comfortable. And then there's also things that we can add with each sense. So, getting a wonderful air filter for your general AC unit is a really smart idea. Keep in mind, though, I did have this is a hack for you. I did one time put a really intense, expensive air filter on my older AC unit. And unfortunately, the filter was too tight and it made the air really tough to go through the machine. Anyway, I sort of blew up my air conditioning unit. So make sure you do something that's compatible with what you have. But if an air filter doesn't work in your AC unit, that's a HEPA filter or something more sophisticated, then definitely offer air purifiers. You can do small ones in different rooms or one big one that can handle all the square footage that you have. I think it's best to use non-toxic and unscented cleaning products. If they want to add scents, they can bring their own perfumes, their own, essential oils or whatever, but it's really better to not have a pine scented, cleaner for the floor and then a lemon scented for the kitchen and then geranium in the bathroom. It's just too much for a lot of this population. If you do want to offer fragrance, I would suggest essential oils. They're not synthetic. They are clean, natural fragrances. You can put them in diffusers. This picture here is my son and I a ways back. He was little here, but the diffuser in the foreground is really wonderful. They are cold mist diffusers, and your clients can maybe you give them a variety of essential oils and they get to choose what fragrance they want. They get to choose the concentration. And then really the most important, easiest thing you can do that's absolutely free is to air out your property regularly. Science has proven that indoor air quality is often 5 times dirtier than outdoor air. It just blows my mind. But what's happened is our properties now are airtight for a lot of reasons, for just being greener and, trying to be energy efficient. We've really tightened up our homes. When we bring furnishings in, we bring furniture, we bring paint, we bring carpets and foams and all kinds of different materials. And often what's kind of unfair is a lot of the more affordable, trendier furnishings do come with a lot of glues and formaldehyde and other toxins. So what happens is, you have your property so closed up that then when you open it, you'll smell that sort of new product smell. And unfortunately, even though I still have, I think a lot of us love that new car smell. When you're smelling that type of fragrance, it's actually off-gassing from different materials that aren't really best for us. So just keep that property really, just let air flow. And that's really kind of the best thing you can do. Okay, so taste. A lot of people think, what does interior design have to do with taste? It's not about whether the client likes what the art on the wall or not. It's really, for me, about water quality. It's very interesting what our water still contains, even though it's been chlorinated and all biological or alive bacteria in the water are killed. But unfortunately, we now have forever chemicals. They're called PFSAs. Those are usually on nonstick coatings. I'm sure you've heard about them. We now have microplastics. We absolutely have pharmaceuticals and all kinds of other things in our water that are still there even after chlorination or boiling. So it's a really good idea to just jump on the internet and check your city's water report and see what you have in your water. Certain areas of the country might have more heavy metals. Some areas might have, arsenic or other things that are natural to the earth that still need to be removed. So when you get your city water report, it will tell you what is high and what's low, and that will inform what water filtration system would work best for your area. I love a whole home water filtration. It isn't expensive. investment at the beginning. I think they're about 3,000 for a tank that goes into a garage or an area where it's connected to the water main. So every bit of water that comes into the property is already pre-cleaned. I love this for a bunch of reasons. One, because the water that you're going to cook with and drink in the kitchen is already clean. But another thing is in the bathrooms. It's very important, and people probably don't think about this. I'm sure you probably haven't even heard this. When water turns to steam in a hot shower, you are breathing in that steam. And so the toxins or toxicants that are man-made go directly into your bloodstream. When you drink water, the water goes down into your system and you have the benefit of your liver and your kidneys that are filtering for you. So there's kind of a little bit of a joke in water quality groups that, let's see, what does it say? It's if you don't have a water filter, then you are the filter. So really think about that. When people are disabled or neurodiverse, they're already having to work so much harder. And any kind of break we can give their body and their mind is a benefit. So really think about shower head. There's new shower heads now that have great filters that take contaminants out of the water, or to put the little mini filters now on sink faucets in the bathroom. Also, if you have pools or saunas, if you're just looking for one, I think it's worth the money to get a hybrid system that uses a lot less chlorine. Chlorine is just not good for us. It's not good for us in the water that we drink, and it's definitely not good for us in the steam or in hot water. So when we are soaking in a sauna or a pool or a bathtub, our pores are open. And again, those toxicants come right in. So if you can use less chlorine or even a saltwater pool or sauna, even better. And then also, I love to at least discuss the fact that water has kind of a magical quality. And there is a concept called biophilia, which means that humans are predisposed to nature. We have only been in built cities for maybe 1,000 years or so. We really love nature and we love water. And so even if you do a tabletop fountain, or if you do some kind of art with bodies of water, those are all so, so important and really give people a sense of relaxation and comfort. All right, so the next one would be touch. And again, yes, you want things that are comfortable and soft and cozy because that's what makes people happy. But because I know you already know most of that, I want to go in to talk about comfort and fit. And this really has to do with ergonomics and how your furnishings fit the body. Because when we are in a chair or a sofa that doesn't fit our body, say we're of shorter stature and we're in a big sofa and it's so deep that our feet don't touch the floor, that can be very disconcerting. If we have sometimes furniture that's floating in a room and we need our back to be against a wall to feel more comfortable, you want to make sure you have variation in ergonomics and in seating arrangements. So I always say natural materials are better than synthetic. Synthetic materials are typically made from petroleum. All the different rayons, polyesters, all of the different synthetic fabrics typically are plastic or petroleum based. They can have weird smells. They're just not as comforting as natural materials. Also, be careful with stain resistant products. Most stain resistant fabrics and furnishings have been sprayed with those forever chemicals that you have on Teflon cooking pans and things like that. And they can eventually wear off. And, with young children and babies, pets, it's just really better to go with natural materials that clean easier than a synthetic material with a heavy coating of some kind. I also like to mix up surfaces. So if you have hard dining chairs, make sure you also have some good upholstery. When you do upholstery, make sure that it's not so soft that maybe someone that's elderly won't sit down in a sofa and then just cannot get back out. You really want to think about who you're serving and make sure that things are soft but maybe not to the point where someone could get stuck. I really love to vary furniture sizes. Adjustable furniture is great. And one thing that scientists have learned about kids is that they are so much more regulated when they are in an environment that fits their bodies. And that's tough, right? Because we expect typically children to live in an adult world and use furnishings that are adult size. But if you can and are interested in putting in a table and chairs that is a kid size, or a desk, or even one of the bedrooms has a lower bed, kind of closer to the floor, or some type of a day bed, I think that that is really appealing to people. Also, accommodating hygiene that's just a huge deal. To have in your shower or somewhere in your bathroom a handheld wand for easier showering. And then also, there are bidet systems now that don't necessarily need electricity. Those just, they hook onto your toilet. The water is cold, but they're there for that purpose. If you do add electricity into the toilet area, then you can have a warm seat and a bidet that is self-cleaning. There's incredible options out there today. And I think that is a real amenity that people are like, wow, they really love it. There's a reason that Europe has had bidets, for centuries. They're really necessary and wonderful. And then also just really make sure you've got quality mattresses. There's just nothing worse than a poor night's sleep. And you want your clients to really feel supported, literally and cognitively, and really be able to rest. If they can truly take that game face off, get rid of their worries, and really truly rest, it is so worth the investment. All right, so hearing has to do with noise versus sound. Noise is a real issue. There is a group online called quietcommunities.org, and they talk specifically about suits and court cases all over the United States and the world, from community members who live near airports or train stations, subway stations, highways. All of us have issues with noise, and how do we mitigate this? So there are just hundreds of ways. I tried to really include things that are easily accessible to you and that are less expensive to start. But there are, so many different levels and layers to this. So what you definitely want to do is, if you have hard surface flooring, that's usually a good idea. You want to soften the surfaces by using maybe area rugs. You can use felted tiles. Gosh, there's so many fun new colors and designs of felt tiles that are acoustic. And not only are they a really pretty design, but they also absorb noise. Make sure that all drawers are lined with kind of that spongy drawer lining material so that you have a lot less clatter when you're opening and closing drawers. I really love, if you're having draperies made, or you get blackout draperies, they're usually lined with an inner quilting lining, which also can absorb more sound. So again, you don't really want to go skimpy on window treatments. One, because of light, which we'll get to, but also because it can really mitigate traffic and outdoor noises. Quiet appliances are a big thing. So I'm not saying take an appliance that you have currently and get rid of it. But as you're replacing and renewing, make sure you get energy efficient and the quieter appliances. Even toilets now have the soft closed seats. And bathrooms can be really, really noisy, especially concerning for people that are neurodiverse, just all that noise. That's one of the reasons that people with autism struggle with hygiene, because if you think about how many different senses you're exposed to, not only noise, loud noise, because you've got all hard surfaces because of the water, you also have usually pretty intense lighting. And then you've got the feeling of the soaps and the water and the air on your body because you're wet, so it's a lot. Anything you can do to soothe that bathroom and make it more spa-like would be great. Definitely putting weather stripping around doors, even the interior doors, because if you've got a TV in one room and you've got wood floors, that noise can vibrate up walls and it can also go right underneath the doors. So adding some kind of stripping at the bottom of doors really helps. And there are also now window inserts. So you've already got your window in place. There are these specialized inserts that you can order to measure your window, and you put it in as an addition to the current glass that's there, and it absorbs noise. It's a new product. I'm not super familiar with it, but I've seen it in several articles and around the internet, and I think it's worth looking into. And then, of course, you can always add sound. I think having a music system is so important. If you can have any kind of music system, even if it's just a speaker that's Bluetooth that people can connect to, I think it'd be fun to even offer playlists. Definitely having noise canceling headphones for people that are extra sensitive to noise in your area, and also offering a sound machine, I think, is a really fun way to give people the opportunity to listen to whatever they want, whether that's nature sounds. Scientists have now proven that birdsong is one of the most relaxing sounds that we have. Also nature sounds, water, thunderstorms, that kind of thing. So really think about how you can mitigate the noise and also add sound that's pleasurable. All right, so now we're at seeing. And again, everyone thinks about what we see in interior design because we associate designing our spaces with pleasure and beauty, but there's a lot more to that. So you know how to make things look pretty, you know what you love, and I wanted to go into something a little deeper. I wanted to talk about what we see when we walk into a space, and that has to do with order and organization. Scientists have proven when you are in a room with too much going on, our temperatures rise, our heartbeat might rise. I mean, it's just very stimulating. So really make sure that your spaces are balanced, visually balanced too. If you have all of your heavy furniture on one side of the room is not very well balanced. So you want to have balanced spaces and very organized spaces. And if you want to keep your spaces clean and orderly and well maintained by your renters, having a place for everything and having good labeling really goes a long way. If people know where you want them to put things, they'll continue to put them there. Really what you're doing is setting a stage for your clients' memories. So I wanted to just bring up the fact that a lot of people love interior design. And if your favorite color is purple and you love polka dots, you might be inclined to do this rental purple and in polka dots because you're not in it every day. But understand that that's not everybody's jam. So really kind of setting a neutral, interesting, right? Beautiful, interesting, but neutral sort of stage for your clients to really create their story there and have their own memories there. You want them to leave thinking, what a beautiful space, but maybe not remembering too much about what was there, so that really they can bring their own story and their own feelings into that space. Also, super, super important is lighting. The more layers of light you can have and the more options, the better. It'd be wonderful to have some dimmers on switches so that when you're in, say, a family or a living room, you don't have just everything on full blast or everything off. You have options. So you can have three-way bulbs and lamps. You can do dimmer switches. You can do lots of levels of lighting with your shades. You can have shears where you can get a little bit of natural light in and then blackouts on top, so that you're really giving the client a lot of options. Some people need to sleep with blackout. Some people feel disoriented and scared and dizzy when they wake up and the room is too dark and they can't see where they are. So it really depends on the client. So the more flexible you can be with lighting, the better. Also, night lights for safety. And when you're adding light, the easiest thing you can do is to buy full spectrum light bulbs to put in your lamps. So if you have a darker space, you want to put in full spectrum light. It's a clean, clear, bright light that mimics the sun. For evening lighting, a neat trick is to do warm light bulbs, pink, red, orange, because those colors, again, mimic the sun. And what's happening in the evenings, the sun is setting. So the light is warm. And when we see warm light, our brains immediately think, okay, it's time to start producing melatonin. It's time to start relaxing and going to sleep. The reason that we say no electronics or flashing blue or bright light at night is because our brain, we have what we call a circadian rhythm that's built inside of us genetically. And so bright blue light makes our brain think morning and alert. So these are just ideas. You can kind of start looking into what light makes us feel focused and gives us alertness. And you might want to have bright, beautiful, like full spectrum light at a desk or in the kitchen where there's going to be tasks taking place. And then in the comfortable areas or the areas to relax, having the warmer light. All right, so now we've done the 5 basic senses. So I just wanted to share a few more that are very interesting to me, especially as we talk about physical disability, but also cognitive decline in balance and I guess coordination is how I would say it. So proprioception and our proprioceptive system has so much to do with how we perceive our body in space. So if you don't have a strong proprioceptive system, it can look like you're clumsy or, a child that is constantly bumping into things, tripping over things. They don't really know where their body is in space, and that can be a real problem. So the ways that you can support someone with a proprioceptive system that might be a little bit off is just to make sure you've got clear pathways. You're probably already doing that for ADA compliance for wheelchair accessibility, right? But you want to clear pathways of like feet from furniture that are sticking out, corners, cords. Another proprioceptive thing that's interesting, there's a reason that we rock babies. Even in the animal world, there are animals that move their babies back and forth. We really love, as a human being, this idea of moving back and forth in space. It's very calming, and it also can re-regulate a dysregulated mind. If someone has been triggered by a sensory stimulus and they are in fight or flight and kind of having a big reaction, when you get into a rocker, a glider, a swing, or a swivel chair, that movement can really re-regulate that autonomic nervous system and help someone get back down into the rest and digest state. Also, what can do that is heavy pressure. So everybody's heard a lot about weighted blankets. When you have a warm, heavy pressure, even like a hug, your body starts to produce these amazing chemicals like serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine. They feel amazing. They really do tell your body everything's okay. So most of our decision-making and behaviors are subconscious. We only really make decisions about behavior in the 10% of our conscious brain. 90% of what's really going on in our body is unconscious. That's how these weighted blankets and like compression sheets are a hack. If you've never heard of a compression sheet, it's interesting. It's kind of like a stretchy bandage that you cinch over the mattress. So when you lie under this compression sheet, it's, as thin as a normal sheet. It's not heavy. You're not getting pressure like a weighted blanket, but what you are getting is the sense of pressure, this compression. So you're up under the sheet that's tight, kind of like a bandage or a rubber band. And so you're getting pressure without weight. Really good just to have in your linen closet. Also, keep your storage at mid-level. In the kitchen, try not to have anything really, really high where someone has to get up on a stool or maybe put themselves in a weird predicament trying to get something. And also not putting things really, really low for people that are older, have knee issues, what have you. It also can make you really dizzy to either get up high or try to bend down low where your head is lower than your heart. So keep your storage at mid-level. And then also proprioception too is an input that your body might need. So when you have children or adults that need proprioceptive input, it's a good idea to have some kind of hand weights. Proprioception and the input that people need from that has to do with kind of feeling your body so that you can be more grounded. So if you're in a panic attack, say you have OCD or PTSD, and you're up in your head and you're feeling emotional, holding hand weights can really ground your body and kind of remind you that you're safe and you're okay. Also, rebounders are like the little mini trampolines. Those are easy to store in a garage or in a laundry room, and that can be really helpful for children with ADHD, all kinds of other issues, so that they have a place to release that energy instead of jumping all over your furniture, right? Exercise balls kind of do the same thing. Okay, so the vestibular system has to do with the inner ear, and it has to do with balance. And so again, you can see all of these things kind of overlap, but they're pretty easy. I really love non-slip flooring. Again, that overlaps with ADA. You really want to secure those rug corners for people that have dementia. I'm trying to remember what the phrase is, but they tend to shuffle and they have a harder time lifting their feet. There's also children like my son with Down syndrome that have low muscle tone, and they tend to also kind of shuffle feet. And so tripping is more of an issue. I love grab bars. I think that every household in America, every bathroom in America should have as many grab bars as they do towel bars. They're just helpful. Even when I was pregnant and you have to like bend down in the shower to shave your legs, like there's just so many reasons that to have supports there. A long bicycle ride on a vacation that you're not used to, you take a hot bath and you might be a little bit sore. It's so nice if you have a freestanding tub to have some kind of support to help you get out of the tub. I mean, you can still be young and vibrant and still need a little bit of support there. I really love also putting handrails on both sides of the stairwell, because we all have dominant sides. So if I'm right-handed. If I'm going down the stairwell, I'm going to grab, the handrail on my dominant side. So it's nice to have one on both. It really seems like a strange thing. I had to fight for it in my own house. The contractor never heard of it, but we love having that, and my son does as well. I also have a 90-year-old father-in-law with dementia, and I noticed that he uses both handrails as he goes down. This picture is a safety gate that I personally had made for a client. It's stainless steel, it's modern, it matched the handrail there, and we just got a keyed lock that we could just simply adhere there to the drywall, and you'll see that. So if someone has to cross a stairway in the middle of the night, there's just no way they're going to fall down the stairs. I think that these gates are great for pets if you allow pets in your rentals, and they're amazing for safety. And if you do them well, they're really going to hold up and they're going to look great forever. Also, eliminating sharp corners. If you're going to buy a nightstand, why not buy one with rounded corners versus very sharp corners? That's just kind of an easy thing to do. All right, here's the last one. This is called interoception, and this has to do with what's going on inside your body. Is your tummy growling? Do you have arthritic pain that no one would know about and you're sore? Do you run really hot? Do you run really cold? I think it's great to have things in your unit that would help someone with temperature regulation, whether those are little portable heaters or fans, any way that you can allow someone to really put the temperature where they need it. It can make a huge difference on sleep as well. Again, weighted blankets, that deep pressure releases serotonin and dopamine. Those are easy and fun to have in your linen closet. If you're in a really dry climate, humidifiers can be amazing. They make a huge difference in people's comfort. For my son, he's a mouth breather. So his mouth is open all night, and he was consistently waking up coughing and needing water. And I thought, I am getting no sleep. So I finally got a humidifier, and it was amazing how just adding some more moisture to the room on his nightstand kept him asleep all night. And it just made a huge, huge difference. I love the idea of you all having self-care items. Fill the bathroom up with beautiful spa type items, things that can help people really relax and connect to themselves. I also love having sensory kits. You can easily look that up on the internet. Sensory kits have all kinds of fidget toys, headphones, all different things to kind of give a person a way to mindlessly relax and really sort of feel at home and welcome in your space. And then also, I think in the kitchen too, it's important to really make things look lovely and have the kitchens outfitted for people to mindfully eat well and stay hydrated. So that's a lot of information, and we went really quickly, but I am so available to talk to anyone if you want to talk about additional things you can do. This is my show house bathroom. I just wanted to share with you to show how beautiful it is and how not clinical an ADA accessible bathroom has to look. The cantilevered sink and countertop is just beautiful and looks modern and very timeless. The grab bar on the inside of the shower is really elegant and looks just like a towel bar. That's a by Kohler. We also did a bidet on the toilet seat, just a regular toilet, and we just did like a Toto washlet on the top. And then the ramp that you see is made from solid surface material like corian. And so we just did a wooden base and we did a corian top, and that is movable. So if you have a client that doesn't need it, you can move it out into the garage. If you have a client that does, you can place it there. So it's kind of a mobile ramp. And then this cutie is on a swimming pool cover. So if you have swimming pools, you know what the laws are. We have to keep them protected from children. And these movable pool covers that can hold the weight of multiple adults are just a really, really wonderful investment. I think you can't really afford not to make sure you have the right security and safety. All right, so that is my spiel. I'm super excited to have come to you today and be able to share with you kind of how you can think a little bit more sensitively about the neurodiverse community, people that are disabled. They want to enjoy your property. They want to have an amazing stay, an amazing vacation, or if they're there for something serious, they need a place that's a real respite. So I think hopefully with these ideas, you can start implementing a few of these. Make sure you communicate it to their client. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how heartwarming it will feel knowing that the place that they're going to stay really cares about how they're going to feel in the space. And I just thank you so much for your attention.
Shelly, thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank
absolutely.
you so much.
Here's my information.
You had so much fabulous information, and thank you for providing your website here. People, you were just going to say before I interrupted you, go get your newsletter, go get on there, get included, and involved in the whole neurodiverse, because you're right. I mean, the fact that you said riches in the niches, it's so true, because people start to think, oh, my market is saturated. No, that's not the problem. The problem is that your home isn't standing out to people who are looking for something, to rent. And with the statistics that you provided, and then all the information about the 8 senses, like I'm sitting there like taking notes here. So
yeah, it's really
appreciate that.
I mean, I think only about 2% of residences in the United States are accessible. It's just really mind-blowing that we aren't taking a little bit more of a proactive leap and really trying to make these spaces more accessible for not only for our clients, but for ourselves as well. I mean, we really only have control over our intimate spaces. So if we don't adjust them to really fit us, then we just really don't have a spot, that can really help us rest and go beyond that survival to the thriving,
Yeah.
So.
No, it was great. So if people have questions, they can send you an email at shelly@acornandoak.com. I'm guessing you don't want everyone to call you, but if they want to send you a text and see if they can have a question or something like that. But yeah, this is fabulous.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much. And love to help.
Yeah, we really appreciate having you on and having you share all this information. So I know I'm going to be watching it again. People can purchase a VIP ticket. They can upgrade their free ticket, get a VIP ticket. It's super inexpensive, but then they can do this again and again as well. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.